mind of the Belgian manager, but going forward, I think he'd benefit the Belgian national team.
Yeah, Napoli lost second consecutive defeat. Got to assume that
Benitez is on his way out.
We watched a bit of them. Was it me and you, Louis, in the Europa League for the weekend? On Thursday.
Right, yeah.
Again, they looked pretty dodgy at the back, playing a team I've never even heard of.
Sorry, they've not kicked on at all. I mean, they were obviously, before last season, they were Juventus' main challengers. Cavani, Lavezzi and Hamsik were a joy to watch a few years back, but they've lost two of them, and they've not really... the players that replaced them with haven't had the same impact. I mean, they've got some cracking players like Mertens and stuff like that still, but they've taken a step back. And I thought Benitez would be better than he has been, but he doesn't look like he's a good fit there.
I don't know if not qualifying for the Champions League has just kind of sucked the kind of life out. One result can really just completely screw you for a while.
I think that's a good point. That's kind of obviously look at it happen to us. The downer that you go on after you don't make it through, it can affect the club for quite some time.
Yeah. What do you think of the Milan game, Ciaran? Any kind of insight you want to bring into it?
It was quite boring. There wasn't, and it was such a letdown compared to the Milan game the previous week, where it was like 5-3. Was it Parma?
5-4.
5-4 was Parma, and it was just end-to-end excitement. And I don't know if it was down to just pure defending on both teams, which is quite something weird to say with Italian football. Italian football used to be always, when I was younger, it was always about the defence. Yeah. But nowadays, there does seem to be some, because I think Inter as well, they won 8-1, I think, as well.
Yeah, Inter actually drew
weekend.
They actually drew with, there was talk of Inter really kind of pushing on, but they draw with Palermo. And how bad, I didn't see Vidic's howler, but I've heard that it's pretty spectacular.
I haven't seen it either. I just read about it, same as yourself.
What was it? Who was it? The manager said that things like this happen once every 100 years or something. Something really bizarre. I'll try and get that quote up later. But yeah, Louis, do you watch any of the Italian football over the weekend?
No, I didn't. Sadly, I don't have BT Sport. My internet's off there now, so I'm pretty dead to the world.
It's not been off for weeks.
Oh, I don't ever go with Sky for
to be honest, he told me the internet story, and he bored me with it for about a good 45 minutes in the pub. So let's leave that. Cassano scored.
Oh, right, give me a minute.
Alright, sorry.
I've been sitting there listening to you talking for 5 minutes. The people want to hear me, right, Chris?
Sorry.
I didn't watch any Italian football this weekend, but I was keeping up to date with Fiorentina. It's going to be my Italian team. I decided last season, just because of watching them as a kid, and one of my all-time favourites, Batistuta, playing for them, obviously. So I've tried to keep up with them since last season, and they finally get their first win in the league at the weekend against Atalanta. So
you said that Gomez is out for
3 weeks. It's just come out tonight that he's out for 3 weeks injured. Rossi's still out for months.
Rossi might never.
Yeah,
such a shame, especially last season. I mean, before he got injured, he was far and away the top scorer. He was in Serie A. He put Juventus to the sword as well.
He brings a tempo to Fiorentina, and it's something he possibly could have given to Italy if he was fully fit.
Yeah, I think for a guy, I mean, he's still quite young, and he doesn't have a huge stature in terms of his size, but he really drives teams on when he plays for them. I mean, he started out at Man United when he was young, and he didn't particularly scream to me that he was going to be a success, but obviously he went to Spain and he was great, and he kicked on from there. And it's a crying shame, because he's got a lot of talent, and he could have been the main man for Fiorentina and Italy. He might still be, but you know,
second.
Is that three?
Aye, sorry.
Gomez hasn't been very good so far this season either. He's not really kicked on. He was struggling so bad with injuries last season, and again that's him injured again. But you would think with Rossi being out again, this was his chance to try and stake his claim, but it seems as if that's not going to happen.
I've never been a huge fan of Mario Gomez. I just don't get why. Don't get me wrong, this is going to sound again counterproductive, kind of stupid, but I mean, he does score goals, but for what he does on the pitch, there are better players out there. I mean, Rossi scored goals, but he actually brought something to the team. Tevez has started buying them in. He brings something to the team. To me, Gomez, I don't think he'll play for Germany again because he was booed. He was booed by the fans the last time he came on in the last international. So, bit nasty, but there you go. But Cassano scored. We always love to see the mad mentalist score a goal. I mean, your tips: Juventus and Roma to fight it out. Chris?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's not another team that have got a chance of competing. Napoli, I think in my preview before the start of the season, I said Napoli had a very small outside chance, but that would have been only if they'd kicked on, which they certainly haven't done. It's Juventus and Roma all the way.
Great stuff. We've got a question. We're just kind of, again, if you guys want to bring anything up in terms of just stories you've heard this week, but looking at Spanish football, we have a question. The question is from Daniel McGowan, who's actually started writing for the website. He's been doing some really good stuff for us. He's asking what our thoughts are on Enrique's start at Barca, and can he compete against the tactical steel of Atletico and Real Madrid, the real tests? Ciaran, Harran, what are your thoughts? Or Louis, you put your hand up.
No, I was just going to say I was reading an article that Gallagher had wrote for Sky Sports and Revista de la Liga, and he was saying how he was really talking about how Messi and Ronaldo have had to adapt their playing style in the last kind of season. But he was saying about Barcelona and how Luis Enrique has possibly reintroduced since Pep the kind of high pressing, high up the pitch, a greater intensity, a greater movement off the ball, players giving people options. I think that was one thing that Barcelona fell into a trap of doing, where they became too static at times. It seems now as if he's trying to get players really moving off the ball, making sure there's plenty of options and pressing high up the pitch. Again, Pep done it, but it's maybe something that's been lost since Pep. So he's possibly going back to something like that. But I think he'll do well there.
Yeah,
if as long as he gets the time.
I think it's funny because people still bring up the whole, Messi's not as good as he was, but he's the most influential player in Spain. He's got the most assists and he scored the most goals, and people are still criticising him. I don't understand. He's not going to score goals, and he's not going to score every single game, and he's not going to, beat 5 or 10 players. People's expectation levels are ridiculous. Ciaran, what your thought? Have you been watching a lot of La Liga this season?
I haven't actually. No, I've not caught too many of the games. But from what I've seen, the derby. It wasn't too good, but that's what happens when you come to derby games. They kind of get hyped up, and then they kind of balance each other out. But I think there was a good result for Real at the weekend. Skelton Deportivo.
Yeah, 8-2.
But it seems as if their 3 big main players, Bale, James and Ronaldo, are just working together now because they're scoring nearly every game.
I don't really think that Rodriguez has actually kind of hit the ground running as well as people would have thought he would have. Again, we talk about you mentioned Chris about Real Madrid of the past. To me, they're almost kind of starting to do that again. I mean, they get rid of Xavi Alonso just to bring in Cruz and Rodriguez, and I'm not saying they're not good players because they're terrific, but is that really what they needed?
No, I think you're right. I mean, it's Alonso is obviously away to Bayern, and it's a good move for him, sort of thing. But Madrid always seem to make big signings for the sake of it. It's almost like there's an event they have to have every summer. They need to give something for the fans to get excited about. The difference is just now, I think they've got a manager in charge who's a bit more savvy, and he knows what sort of how to keep a bit of shape in the team, if you know what I mean. So I don't know if it'll be as detrimental as it has been in the past, but I think you're right. Sometimes they buy for the sake of it rather than buying players that you think they would need.
It's almost to flex their muscles. Like Rodriguez was the one of the standout players in the World Cup, so he needs to be a Real Madrid player kind of thing.
There's a lot to do with it as well with the way it works over there with kind of presidential stuff as well. I mean, it seems to be that the presidents at the likes of Barca and Real, in order for them to get re-elected, they kind of have to be seen to. I mean, we had the whole Galacticos era and all that. I mean, if they're buying these top players, it's possibly furthering their own cause to get re-elected.
Yeah. El Haddadi's started to get a game for Barca. Marek, who writes for the cover Spain and big Barca fan, he's been quite impressed with him. But Neymar hasn't really been starting. That may be due to his injury, but he's already got 3 goals. So I mean, to answer the question, for Daniel's question, I think Madrid, Barca, could win it at a canter. They've played 4, won 4. They've not conceded a goal. Now, I know it's early doors, but, once you start hitting form like that, you can't really complain, can you? I know they had a poor game against the Silly and Sheridan-led Apoel Nicosia, but who's not going to struggle with them, Chris, am I right?
They're a frightening proposition.
Frightening proposition.
I'm worried that we have to play them one day because they're that good.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks for backing me up there.
I know.
Sevilla always seem to pull a really good team out of averting disaster now and then. They've won 3, drawn 1 as well. They had a good result at the weekend. Yeah, great stuff. Any kind of other points you want to make? Any comments? I think we've covered most of it. You can contact us. www.90minutecynic.com is the name of the website. At 90MinuteCynic is the Twitter. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/90MinuteCynic. We're on Instagram, but we don't really post on that. But yeah, any kind of final thoughts, gentlemen?
No.
Great stuff there. No, thanks for coming on, Chris, as always. Stalwart of the Cynic podcast. Thanks for coming on this week.
Thank you for having me, Christopher. Great cup of tea as usual.
I make a terrific cup of tea. Ciaran, thanks for great to have you back. We'll get you involved in the rotation.
Yeah, it was good to be back.
Louis, always a pleasure.
Never a chore.
Never a chore. Harran, Chris Gallagher, and we'll speak to you down the road.
There's no place that's softer than living today is just getting so bad. There's a look on your face and it says